damn you! God damn you all to hell!
And young women, please understand that if you dress immodestly, you are magnifying this problem by becoming pornography.
Dad, where's the party?
Oh, well, I'm in a little trouble.
Is she pregnant?
Well, if she is, are you gonna leave the woman carrying your grandchild standing out in the cold?
I look pregnant?
Among the most common sexual sins, pregnancy and abortion, all ugly sins, but in and of themselves, they're pernicious evils.
Travis, my good soul. I think there's a great number of you who are new since 2024. And so you're hearing about my information for the first time. I've been doing these videos from the beginning. It was November 4th, 2016, when Fox 13 News Utah announced that there would be a total solar eclipse over the United States of America. Because of my wanting to know about Joseph Smith, that knowledge about what solar eclipses mean to the ancients was in me. And so I knew exactly what it meant. And sure enough, dreams occurred that informed me of the need to keep a history of the people for these latter days and warn Mormons. And after 2024's total solar eclipse, I was then confused. And so you've watched as I provide you with further information and knowledge about the Jews, Jewish calendar, Jewish traditions, interpretation with signs in the heaven. But we're technically in uncharted territory, because the Book of Mormon says we were supposed to have been finished in 2021. Because after they failed the enemy, I kept mocking Nelson about how he failed. And especially after 2024, he failed. And so let's go back to the beginning of how this all began, since the majority of you have missed those videos of me covering it. On 9/11/1826 in Canandaigua, New York, William Morgan was arrested by the enemy to shut him up and silence him from publishing his book that was going to expose the Illuminati plot to overthrow the government in the latter days. Secret conspiracies require being kept secret, and if he exposed them, then their 200-year-old plot would be in jeopardy. And so it involved an attack during that time as well to help secure positions to make things happen according to their plot. The master mason of that Canandaigua lodge was Joseph Smith Sr. He was working with William Morgan to make the book. I am surprised that nobody made the connection. There are some ex-foes who are aware of William Morgan, and so they correctly identify the naming of the Book of Mormon with William Morgan and Thomas Monroe. But that's as far as they know to go. They can't go any further. They aren't aware of how to do research. And there are those who know that Joseph Smith Sr. was a master mason in Canandaigua, but apparently don't connect it with Monroe, don't understand how the Book of Mormon is that book. There are others who know that Morgan was a part of the Danite baptisms for the dead, but think that it's because Joseph knew. They don't understand that it was the Danites who turned Joseph Christian, for a literal resurrection from the dead. I don't understand that all of those particular scriptures, I think it's 128 specifically, is a forged document. It is not by Joseph. Because people who find information out are unable to run theory tests to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to find out what the truth is. And so the book that was published under William Morgan's name, going over the 3 degrees of Masonry for both Scottish rites, which are the 33-degree Masons, and the York rites, which is what Morgan and Smith Sr. were, with the Knights Templar, which nobody catches on to. Joseph Smith's second vision about Egyptian gold plates, that's Knights Templar lore in America, in caves, in southern Illinois. Nobody makes that connection. That was me. But that book by William Morgan, which was not by William Morgan, but was published to try to make up the money that was lost with an investment for him, is exactly 116 typed pages, which Joseph Smith gives you the clue in the introduction of his Book of Mormon. 116 pages going missing. And so this is why Mormon scholarship can't figure out how it could be 116 pages, because what we now have in place of it, as they suppose, is more than 116 pages. And so they try to make stuff up to explain it. That's what apologists are. They make stuff up to explain an indefensible position. They don't understand the scientific process of developing a theory and running the test for confirmation. And if you come up with a false result, you're supposed to get rid of your theory and try again. Mormon apologists won't do that. And so because of this knowledge of what the Book of Mormon is, that it is warning us here in the latter days of this Illuminati threat, and my having made the connection that Brigham Young was of this Illuminati, the inverted pentagram of Lucifer, duh. The dedication of the Nauvoo Temple on the anniversary of the Illuminati, duh. John C. Bennett getting excommunicated by Joseph Smith for, polygamy, technically adultery, and then forming his own halcyon Illuminati order. It's there for researchers of church history to find. It's just nobody's doing it. Nobody's putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And the Mormons who do the Wikipedia pages on church and church members are maliciously lying to cover up what's really going on. And so when I started doing my videos about church history, exposing all of this stuff, even Mormons who were responsible for the lies on Wikipedia would cover up more of those lies to prevent other people finding out what I was finding out and sharing with you in videos. And so knowing that the Book of Mormon is Jewish Kabbalah of Joseph Smith Sr., mixed with Knights Templar, I then am able to see the Book of Mormon through his eyes. His eyes. He wrote it. It's his interpretation. It's not Christian. To use Christianity is the wrong interpretation. You must use Jewish Kabbalah and Knights Templar to understand your Book of Mormon, specifically the 116 pages. All of the stuff of the small plates of Nephi, as we are told. And so there are certain things that the church still lies about, like the first vision. It's the wrong name of the church. It's blatantly obvious for anybody who reads it. To have the name of the church be Jesus Christ, but then not name the personage Jesus Christ, and then in verse 19 to tell us that Christianity with Jesus Christ is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt, and yet we're Christians still. And then the second vision, changing it to Moroni, when it's supposed to be Nephi, changing it to golden when it says gold. Yeah, these are malicious people, or as Joseph Smith calls them in verse 1, evil disposed and designing militant persons. That's the Danites that Thomas B. Marsh tells us from 1838. They lie, they rape, they murder, they steal, they burn. It is their plot. And so the whole concept of Brigham Young fleeing the country, that was to establish his kingdom. The United States has spoiled that. So I've done the whole history of this church for you, with the Dark Ages from Wilford Woodruff to Heber J. Grant, to the corporate abomination. We are not a religion. We're a corporation, which is criminal, that is causing Mormons to be criminal to make the corporation money. Going out and recruiting people to pay the church, and paying the church to prostitute your wives. All of this is criminal stuff, because this organization is a criminal organization. Because this plot is a conspiracy plot to murder, to commit crimes that lead to an insurrection of the United States of America as a domestic terrorist group. They are guilty of murder, of conspiratorial insurrection and terrorism, simply by being a part of plotting to do it. Even if they fail, they are still guilty of the crimes. And so this has been frustrating to learn that nobody will punish the church for their crimes, that they are getting away with it. And so let me go over with you what the Book of Mormon has proven itself to be true. and why we're in uncharted territory now. Start at the beginning of the Book of Mormon. We're told, use the learning of the Jews. We're told the setting for the prophecy and revelation to warn us of the latter-day threat is the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah, who was put on the throne in 597 BCE. This is important to know because Joseph Smith Sr. uses this setting to start the Book of Mormon, because he then uses 600 years from the time Lehi leaves in an exodus to Zion, which is at the top of the Red Sea. So when he leaves from Jerusalem, that's this first year, 597. So 600 years later is 4 CE. In 4 CE, checking for signs in the heavens, the sign of Emmanuel, the sun god at noonday, verse 9. That is the meaning of Emmanuel, not God with us. We have a annular solar eclipse on 8 April 4 CE, 2 days after April 6th. Senior was brilliant, because 8 April is 2020 years, 2020 years to the day of the third and final solar eclipse over the United States of America. 3 days, 3 hours of darkness. And so an exodus, with that little mathematical astronomy connection, places the Exodus year for the latter days in 2020. We get confirmation that 2017 is the start of the latter days, verses 8 through 10. This is where Lehi has his second vision, which is an exact pattern match with Joseph Smith's second vision. But instead of giving us the astronomy date, Joseph instead says he is shown or told about the Urim and Thummim. As the Urim and Thummim in the Book of Abraham, Joseph Smith tells us that that's used to see the heavens, to get dates for the future. But this also is a taking from the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5. They move verse 5 to be a part of this sign in Revelation. And sure enough, when you see the Joseph Smith translation, that's exactly what they do. They move verse 5 to verse 3. That is the full sign on that day, in the future, in the first year, 2017, It's the 23rd of September. Back in 2017, there was a guy who had found it in 2016, I think. As I would find it independently, either at the end of December or in January of 2017. But the pictures I've shown you of when I was at the book signing in Elko, Nevada, you can see that I knew about it except for verse 5 there on my computer screen. And so yeah, I wouldn't find out that verse 5 needs to be moved to verse 3 until after Monson died with verse 4 of Revelation chapter 12. What the Jews knew, what Joseph Smith Sr. knew, is just incredibly awesome. And for Mormons to just be in stiff-necked, hateful rebellion and denialism is just sad and pathetic. That the Book of Mormon is awesome, not because it makes them feel good in their boobs, because it is awesome. These guys knew science, and they were using that to explain the Bible for us of the prophecies of the latter days and about this threat to destroy America, to warn people. And here it was Joseph Smith Sr. through his son Joseph Smith Jr. to warn Mormons specifically, because Christianity had just destroyed the Bible to cover it all up. And so Joseph Smith's religion was for those who would come out of Christianity to learn of this threat, to use Christianity as the militant force to destroy America with, and then destroy Christianity. And so we've got the 23rd of September 2017 here. 2020 is going to be the Exodus year. And this is where 3rd Nephi 7 has been confusing for me. I don't understand what happened. It should have happened. I did everything I was supposed to do in 2020. If Joseph Smith is Jewish, and 2nd Nephi chapter 3 verse 5, Joseph Smith Jr. is the Jewish Christ named Messiah ben Joseph, that the branch off from Joseph Smith Sr. is then Hiram, who would produce in the future for the latter days 2 Mormons, Messiah ben David, the one mighty and strong, the man like Moses, Emmanuel, the Jewish Christ, that all Jewish scriptures are talking about. It is a Mormon. It's me. I ran the test. I'm not happy with it, but here we are. Deal with it. Get over it. You should have judged me by my fruits if you were there back in 2020. I was awesome that year. And so 3rd Nephi chapter 7, I was well aware for the 2020 election. And yet, I didn't find out that Oaks said that this was going to be a test run until last year. And late last year. That's when I started posting about Sister Jessica. At first, it was because of the guy who did the video, and so I just had the quote that he had put on his screen with Oaks. Did variations of that picture for you. But now, since I found Sister Jessica being the source of it, that she had gotten it from her mission president back in 2020, then I understood the fuller context of what was going on. And it just, to find that, and for Oaks to confess to the mission presidents that the church was behind all of this, I already knew that information. But when prosecuting people, you often hear the news talk about needing motive, and you don't need motive. If they're involved in the crime, you don't need to know why. Their motive or their intent is only for the purpose of sentencing. Did they intend to do it, or was it just an accident of circumstances of whatever level? That's only for sentencing. If they're guilty, they're guilty. And then when sentencing comes along, these other mitigating factors are taken into consideration. Is it their first time? Is it a pattern of practice, etc.? And so, you don't need that for a prosecution. And so, we all knew Trump was guilty. We didn't need Jack Smith's report. We didn't need a special counsel investigation. We needed President Biden to act as the commander-in-chief and lock him up for insurrection, along with every other congressman, as well as all of the people that followed them. Biden failed America. I warned them, they did nothing. I warned them in advance that January 6th was going to happen. And nobody did their job to stop it. And it happened. I knew from the Book of Mormon of what was coming. And it happened. And I reported it. Nobody did anything to stop it. And it happened. And then nobody did anything to punish those who did it. This is how in danger we are all in. When our government refuses to stop the enemy, they're giving aid and comfort to the enemy. They are part of the conspiracy, thus guilty of the crimes. And so Biden and Harris are equally guilty. They aided and abetted MAGA, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Everybody's guilty. And it's just terrifying to me. And so, I didn't quite understand their usage of year dating. I understood that it's likely to be involved to help us with the dates of when these events would take place. Prophecy with revelation, the time of when the prophecies are to happen. But I've learned that it's our calendar and both the religious and the civil calendars of the Jews that are playing a part in this. And so, going over it again in my mind last night, I stumbled across the timeline that they were giving us. They're using, in chapter 7 of 3rd Nephi, the Jewish religious calendars for the various years that are talked about here. And so the 30th year, in verse 1, is the new year of the 26th of March, 2020. Which places January 6, 2021 in that same year. And so when you read this now, you need to know that this intended to be 2020's election with January 6, because it's the Jewish calendar year for religion, 1st of Nisan. Now behold, I will show unto you that they did not establish a king over the land. But we read in chapter 1 of 1st Nephi that a king was placed on the throne of the United States of America. That's Trump, 2017. And sure enough, the solar eclipse, that is 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem, was over Russia. And it was Russia who gave aid and comfort to Trump to help him win. Just mind-boggling of how this was known to Joseph Smith Sr. Russia was not formed as a nation until I think it was 1919, with the Scottish Rites 2 eagles' head as their seal, to show that the Scottish Rites had infiltrated Russia for this plot to turn Russia into the nation that would attack in the latter days, to help Trump get in. Just mind-boggling how evil this group is and how much knowledge William Morgan had about this plot beyond what the Danites told Thomas B. Marsh for his affidavit. And so this is 26th of March at the beginning of the year to 14th of March 2021 is the new year for the year after that. And that is verse 14. And so you can see here that even though Oakes said this was going to be a test run, which is how they justified fulfilling the Book of Mormon prophecy, to not establish Trump on the throne for the 2020 election. Their intention was to destroy upon the judgment seat, to murder the chief judge. They were going to murder Biden. They failed. Trump was going to lose. Biden took over. They were supposed to murder him. They failed. January 6th was supposed to be a big insurrection, and people were supposed to be murdered. It didn't happen. They failed. Trump failed. And so the national division of states becoming sovereign nations, for the church to become the Kingdom of Deseret with Nelson as the king, failed. Because you had Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about a national divorce. They failed. Not me. I did everything. I was awesome. They failed. Their 200-year-old plot that worked in 2016 into 2017 worked. 2020 failed. Almost made it, but they failed to finish it. And so I'm not sure exactly what happened, because everything was going according to plan until January 6th, where Trump ordered them to stop. And they gave up and stopped, because we're watching the news live as people are saying, hey, Trump is telling us to stand down, he's telling us to stop. And they stopped. We see the congressional hearings of Mitt Romney that the church set up to be murdered. That's cold. Mitt Romney, I tried to warn him. I tried to let him know that the church betrayed him. So he quit for this year. But all of this was supposed to happen in 2021. It didn't. And so then we have the new year on the 14th of March, which is verse 14. And so they tell you what Trump was supposed to have done. Yeah. They were MAGA was supposed to, having destroyed the government, independent states, MAGA was supposed to establish, where's Jacob? Okay, they still have him in right after January 6th, before March 14th. In verse 12, I see Jacob there. Let's see, 9. Now the secret combination which had brought so great iniquity upon the people did gather themselves together, and they did place at their head a man whom they did call Jacob. This was supposed to be similar to the Civil War, in which the Confederates called their own president. Can't remember his name offhand. It's 3 in the morning. So, let's see what you can offer me here. I'm so frustrated with Google. Jefferson Finis Davis. I don't know if it's supposed to be Finney or if it's Finis. Jefferson Davis. That was supposed to be Trump. This was their whole plan, to destroy the federal government, place Trump as the king, and then go do civil war battles with the deep state Dem states. But they were supposed to lose, and then take their journey into Canada, the 51st state. And so thus ended the 30th year on the 13th of March. And so in verse 14, that's the 14th of March, 2020. That's the new year. In the 31st year that they were divided into tribes, every man according to his state, even though they say family here, kindred and friends. Nevertheless, they had an agreement that they would not go to war one with another. So the deep state Dems made an agreement not to go to war against each other, and apparently the other states, failing to put Trump as the king in 2020's election, likewise make an agreement not to go to war with each other, to continue to have economic trade between each other and so forth. None of this happened. They failed. And so they're not united as to their laws. Utah doesn't give a damn about the Constitution and the rights to people. It's all about church ordering people what to do. And so this is going to be interesting as to what would have happened to Utah had this occurred. Because this is Utah's big chance to create the kingdom of Zion on earth. And they failed. I was given a death threat that year because I sued in Pharaoh's court, and Pharaoh said, no, I will not let Mormons go. And so, yeah, I was going to be kicked out. If it hadn't have been for COVID being as severe as it got, I was going to be booted to the curb. The property manager was ordered through the process by the church to have me booted to the curb. They had rigged the whole courts against me. The federal judge refused to recuse as a Mormon and let the church go. And there were some other scandals that were involved. But yeah, my life was in great jeopardy because the enemy failed. And so again, nobody knew, unless they listened to my channel, of where the right Zion would be. And YouTube was just on a tear after 2018 with my #1 video on this channel getting up to 40,000 views, showing Mormons who I am. And Mormons just apparently didn't bother to run the test to follow me. Only a handful did. And the majority of them are now dead because of 2020. My projected subscribers are, one, not actually over 1,500, but the majority of them are dead, which is why I don't get them watching my videos anymore to boost my numbers. And so the views are based upon you guys who are brand new and following me. You are the major number of viewers to my videos. And they are low compared to the number of subscribers that have not been deleted because they're dead. I don't think people understand that for subscriptions anymore. And so verse 14 is the events for the 14th of March to the 2nd of April 2022, the new year. That is down in verse 23. And so as we go over this, they were not united as to their laws and their manner of government, for they were established according to the minds of those who were the governors, who are now presidents. Some would probably still be governors, others would be kings. Nelson would be king of Utah. But they did establish very strict laws that one state would not trespass against another state. They were still trying to keep the United States separate but equal as the Confederate segregationist policy. So yeah, the federal government was supposed to have collapsed and they failed. This is what Trump is now doing. On next week, 4 days, This is what he's going to do. He's going to destroy the federal government, destroy America, cause us into civil war to do this. So this is what we have coming, because they failed. Even though Oak said it was going to be a test run. But it's amazing how the Book of Mormon said that no, the test run, yeah, to keep Trump out, but then cause January 6th. Let's see, and so me being visited by dreams, and also voices in my head, voices in my head. Should that be the theme song in the description below? I like that song. '80s teenager. So we'll see. Therefore, having this, so this is what Joseph Smith did to establish his authority for you. The first and second visions were to help Mormons understand that Joseph Smith is the Messiah ben Joseph, man like Moses, seer, prophet, revelator, and translator, having the keys of the president of the church. And so this is how I should be judged by you, to know who I am. You don't do it by your spiritual witness feelings, or that the church has lied to you repeatedly to tell you that you don't listen to section 107, verse 91 and 92. You listen to them, and you believe them, and so if anybody goes against them, they're the enemy. That's the Danite plot. It makes you evil if you believe them. And so, yeah, I am a witness to the evil and all that stuff. Mormons tried to murder me. And so I went forth among you in 2021 and began to testify boldly. And yeah, I started to be more specific, just as it says here, prophecy fulfilled, because I obeyed the still small voice. I know it, I've run the test, I know it's good. And so I do things and they end up fulfilling prophecy. And here it is again. We just found it. Calling on Mormons to repent. And Mormons refuse to listen. And they are written. What do you mean they're not written? Cannot be written. Come on, I wrote them. I mean, I do have sealed portion stuff, journal vlogs. Like, this is how I was found out about this last night. I was going over my journal vlog, discussing what's going on. This is great danger that we're all faced in because the church won't fall. And so this apparently seems to have been what was supposed to fall. The church was supposed to fall in 2021. As Senator Lee, we got exposed as being involved in the insurrection. And so yeah, it's likely that Utah would have had the MAGA Mormons and the church fall because of this. And Trump running for his life with his loyalists. Dear God, talk about your miserable failures. As you can see the difference between true prophets and false prophets in the Book of Mormon now that it's all happened. The true prophets were right on target. They knew exactly what the enemy was going to do. The false prophets, the enemy, failed. It was their plot, and they failed. That's why I'd been putting for January 20th, Plan G, because they've been failing. after failing in 2021, they still kept trying to do stuff to destroy America, and they kept failing to do it. It's just wild how they suck at being evil. Worst evil ever. Let's see. And of course, Mormons were angry with me because they had greater power, because I have greater power than you. For were it not possible that they could disbelieve his words? Yeah, I would throw in the Book of Mormon. Mormons are incapable of defending their lies and their spiritual witness feelings when it comes to the actual wording in the Book of Mormon, as I'm doing now. Mormons can't deny that this is what the Book of Mormon says. They just interpret it wrong. They call this literal history. It's not literal history, you dumbasses. You got lied to by false prophets. So, yeah. So great was my faith on myself. I don't have angels ministering unto me daily, though. Where are my angels? Hello, angels. Hi, Charlie. I'm watching Castle, so I saw my Charlie's Angels file as I went to Castle. And so, yeah, casting out devils, unclean spirits, that's people who disbelieve. That's what that's evolved with. People who have been lied to. Devil is the author of all lies. Unclean spirits are those who have falsehoods flowing through their brain. And so by telling people the truth, there are those of you who have been converted since 2021. Understanding now the truth and learning how to learn and using the learning of the Jews in your study of the scriptures, right? Just because you're an ex-foe doesn't mean you've had the devils and unclean spirits removed from your soul. You're still possessed with the Mormon devil. Even my brother did I raise from the dead. Bleep Todd. Bastard. The church threatened him. Get him. Get your brother. Destroy him. And he failed, obviously. He's my younger brother. They should have known better. And yet, they were desperate. They had failed again to lock me up in Gail Miller's concentration camp of hell. And so, yeah, this is all stuff that sort of happened, but not in the context that it was intended to happen, because the enemy failed. And so verse 23 is the 2nd of April, 2022, technically the day before the 1st of April, because it's the ending of it, thus passed away, the 32nd year, 1st of April, 2022. And so the 2nd of April, 2022 is the 33rd year. And so in that year, for conference, yeah, that would have been for conference weekend, even though it's not in the right context of what was supposed to happen. Let's find out 2022's conference weekend time. Where did I put that? Hebrew calendars, Latter-day Picks, okay. 18, 20, 2? Yeah. Alright, it's you. Itchy. Winter dry skin. Okay. All of this should never have happened to my system. No upgrades to ruin it, and because they failed, the 2021 upgrade is what has been causing my problems, and the latest one did this abomination with my picture viewer. God. Okay. So yeah, that was conference weekend. 2nd of April and 3rd of April. Conference weekend. 1st and 2nd of Nissan. Unbelievable. And so sure enough, conference weekend, I was doing this. I was doing my part according to the prophecies of me, which they cannot plan for. This is actual prophecy of what I did. I'm finding out for the first time from last night, figuring out that the dates given here in chapter 7 and chapter 8 are the Jewish religious calendar years. So this is brand new to me too. And so I am what the enemy never expected. They don't believe in me. They use the Bible of the Jews to coordinate their attack for the latter days. That's what William Morgan found out. But me? No. That is all Senior, who chose Hiram to be my descendant, or my ancestor. That I am supposed to come through him. That's awesome powers of a true seer, revelator, and prophet. Seer, revelator, prophet, and translator. And the father of the men like Moses, as the master mason of the York Rites, with the Knights Templar, the Holy Grail. And Mormons are just so indoctrinated. They want me dead. They're angry. Bleep you, Travis. And so yeah, the commencement was conference weekend. Going over the conference videos, when typically my views are the highest. Wow. You know? And so yeah, that was right before I got booted out. I was under full attack. And so yeah, in June 6th, that's when I put my foot on the mountain. Mount Olympus. Let's see. And so yeah, we were supposed to, God, none of this happened. The church was supposed to have fallen. People were now supposed to be listening to me, and we were supposed to be preparing for an exodus, getting people to listen to me. God, none of that happened because the enemy failed. Wow. Okay. And so now we get to the 22nd of March 2023, which is the end of the 33rd year. And so the 34th year Oh, that's the end of the... Second of April is verse 23. Passing away of the 32nd year. So the start of the 33rd year. Okay. So the end of the 33rd year is the 22nd of March, 2023. And so thus 2023 is the first year, which is the 34th year. So understand that these are Scottish Rites numbers. The 33rd degree is the highest rank as an honorary rank. It's technically 32 degrees is the highest you can obtain in the Scottish Rites. He is using that for their plot to identify for us that it's the Scottish Rites who are plotting this. Because if you were to take this as literal history, it would mean that Jesus was 33 years old in the 34th year. Because there is no 0 year. If Jesus is born on 6th of April, 1 CE, to be 33, it would be 34, year 34, not 33. But the enemy, Scottish Rites, are using Jesus as the Christian weapon to destroy America with, as we read they were supposed to have done. And then justify destroying everybody with Jesus' second coming and mass murder, coup of government. And so they show you that they're using Jesus as their front to commit their insurrection to overthrow the government. Just brilliant by the York Rites Master Mason. Okay. And so while the states are making agreements not to go against each other, I guess we're not able to leave yet because people don't know who I am. And so at that time, that's when I start talking about all this stuff, and there are people who start to believe me after what just happened. And then I get a following of people as a result of that. And that didn't really happen. And so, yeah. So it's not the Exodus for us yet. But it was to come. Interesting. Even though I did part the waters in 2020. Fascinating. And so this is how it will happen this year. Trump takes over, destroys America, divided states, the rest of the world in chaos. And so apparently I'm still going to be allowed to live here, or we're going to have to act fast, because if the federal government's destroyed and the economy is destroyed, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do videos for you guys. But that seems to be what will happen this year, is the 2022 year stuff of people believing me now, finally, after it happened, now that you're compelled to believe. And so, yes, then we're preparing again for Passover this year. Oh, crap. Okay. And so now we're in 2023, and verse 2 of, after verse 2 of 3rd Nephi chapter 8. And so this was supposed to be people are listening to me. I'm Samuel the Lamanite, who gives you the signs of the 2017, 23rd September, and 8 April 2024. did my part. It happened. And that's the darkness for the 3 solar eclipses over the face of the land. And so when we get to this part for 2023, this is when I just barely got into this apartment. And yes, a dualistic dream that I told you about from the original West Valley apartment. The dream said I would get the West Valley apartment, but said that was the wrong apartment, that the actual apartment was going to be this one, and both of them were on the same day when I came in and got the place paid for. Just as in the dream. Amazing. And so, yeah, last year I was the first one to renew my residency here. And again, this year I'm the first one to renew my residency. Which is weird, because there was somebody in this apartment before me. There were other people in this building before me. But I guess they all moved out and did their own thing. I don't know why, whether it was because it was too expensive for them, or what other factors were involved with whatever. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, this is the 34th year now for 2023 to 9th April 2024. Is that right? No. Oh. Interesting, but it's supposed to be. Yeah, the 34th year is 2023, 24th of March, or 23rd of March to 9th of April 2024, which includes the 3rd day of darkness. And so, yeah, this could have been a nuclear attack that causes the great storms and the upheavals in America. When Temple Square gets destroyed, the city of Zarahemla did take fire, or that could be DC that gets nuked. We don't know. It didn't happen. The enemy failed. And so the consequences of success never happened. I refer to Loki to explain this to you. With the different timelines. That was an awesome show. That was well done. But I'm disappointed that Disney didn't want to put it on DVD. Had to buy it from outside. But that's a concession of this. The enemy's failure allowed our lives to continue. And so I was able to get a whole bunch more TV shows and movies because of that. Whereas apparently we were not. So that's just incredible of how their failure produced some stuff that I was able to still obtain and find out, because I would have never known about Oaks using it as a test run in 2020, because I found out this last year after the 30 and 4th year ended. So technically we're in the 30 and 5th year. Dear God. Yeah. Okay. So it's 30 and 5th. And so this is when we have left. Because 8, 9, and 10, this is all the destructions. And then my voice, I am He, I am Alpha and Omega, Alpha and Chi, the beginning and the end. Dear God. And then there's silence in the land, hen gathering chickens. And I show my body. Cover up. Hide. You're porn. And so, yeah, 3rd Nephi 11. How everybody who's been on a mission has misinterpreted this. Now, with this new understanding, you should see it differently now. The 8th of April, 2024, was the last year of the 34th year. And thus 9th April starts the 35th. And I have gathered you to Zion at this point. And it came to pass that there was a great multitude gathered together of the people of Nephi, me, those who follow me. A man like Moses. And we're around the temple, which is in the land bountiful. We're in Zion, Southern Illinois. After their success in 2021, I then am talking to people, trying to get converts. And there's a group that are listening and believing me. And then in 2023, disasters happen. And then the sign in the heavens, as I had told you it was coming, happened. And we would be in Southern Illinois to protect you from the destruction that was coming. Those of you who hearkened to me, we left and we were saved. And it didn't happen because the enemy failed. But now it's this year. I don't know how I'm going to be able to communicate if the destructions, because they're going to have to hasten their destructions. Instead of taking a whole year to do it, it's going to have to happen quickly. The Book of Mormon makes you believe that it was only 3 days of darkness that had occurred. No, that's the 3 years of the full latter days. This destruction, yeah, it could be a nuclear holocaust. That would happen instantly. But, oh dear God. But yeah, there's conversing about the sign in the heavens of the death that I've been telling you about. Because you wouldn't have known otherwise. I am Samuel the Lamanite who told you. You only knew from me. You would have never known what it would have been. I remember Paul, who was trying to understand what the 3 days of darkness was, and never understood it in the context of the 3 solar eclipses. He was thinking it was actual 3 days of darkness. And Mormon apologists do the same thing. They create scenarios. They never bother to run the test because they don't know a date of when it was supposed to happen. So they just keep waiting and say that they're right, and they're expecting it to happen anytime. Just like all Mormons believe Jesus is coming in a coming day, because Nelson and Oates told you he is. Jesus is Trump. This is what you're not understanding. is that I don't know if this is because they failed, and so they're doing this as a backup plan, but Trump on January 20th is verse 8. That's the enemy. Trump is Jesus to them. He's not Jesus. They know he's not Jesus. He's trying to deceive Christians, and thus Mormons. Mormons aren't going to be convinced because they believe in a literal Jesus who looks differently in the way that painters that they approve of, every Mormon is different, believe in. And the church has been trying to tell you that Jesus is here, and they've been using him for the Book of Mormon videos. That's Jesus, Mormons. Here he is. He's doing live performances. Jesus in his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Starring Donny Osmond coming out of retirement. But I'm back. Oh my God, we're all doomed. Not. Yeah, I am aware the father died, or the older brother died, or something like that. Somebody died who was an Osmond. I went to my time in Bountiful, going to the ward where one of the Osmonds went to church. That woman, it was over charity. She broke up with me because she believed the church's lie about charity in the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon was correcting the mistranslation in our King James Version. It's love, agape. And yet the church has just destroyed God. And I lost her. I liked her. And she liked me. Dear God. And so, yeah, this is what they're doing now. They failed, and so now Jesus is going to come in the form of Trump on January 20th. But they're doing it off because the destruction didn't happen. They're going to do that after now, and so they're redoing 3 Nephi 7 and those events for failing, that they just screwed this all up. And so this is what you have to expect, is that the church is not going to hand it over. Mormons are not going to be made aware of who I am. My perfect plan is not going to happen. And so, yeah, what we're looking at is Trump taking over on the 20th, and then as a thief in the night on the 21st at midnight, the various cabinet members do their thing and begin the destruction of America. And the deep state Dems states are going to not want to be a part of this operation, and there will be civil wars in each of the states. The economy will collapse. Men's hearts will fail them. They'll curse God and die. And so it's going to happen fast. Depending on how long YouTube will last until it gets overrun and destroyed so that nobody is able to hear my videos anymore. Because with the tanking of the economy and the destruction of the federal government, oh dear God, your missionaries are going to be stranded, and yet somehow I'm expected. I did my part already. I'm done. I quit. crap. Because nobody sufficiently knows who I am, let alone believes who I am. Just a few of you who are listening now are the only ones who know and believe. Dear God, we're all doomed. How is this going to happen? And so in these scenarios that the Book of Mormon is talking about, there is no transfer of the assets of the church. It's just those who have been following me. I'm able to do YouTube videos to say, let's meet at the Green River overpass, and we'll head, and chaos will be going on while we're on our journey to get there. People, it will not be good. It will not be organized. I need this church's assets to make it perfect, to save your lives. And so right now I don't see it happening. The church has to say we quit, and they won't. So I don't know how it's going to happen. And they're meeting today. They are aware that the trap that they set had failed. And so now with Trump being put back in as president, when he clearly is a violation of the Constitution, he's going to come back and destroy this church. Destroy Utah. So yeah, we're all in uncharted territory because Nelson failed with his plot to destroy America. They did it, sort of, but they still failed. They didn't murder Biden as they were supposed to, and none of the national divorce stuff happened. But other stuff happened as a consequence because we're on the different timeline. I'm not a woman, okay, so I'm not the Loki female. I liked her. She was fun. Anyway, that's what we're faced with. So. I mean, for me to have all of my work in vain is going to be crushing. And maybe that'll be consolation to Nelson for having failed. Because that conference weekend before the solar eclipse was supposed to be his big show, and he failed. And so to try to cover up his failure, he purchased the Kirtland Temple, along with some of the other stuff, and did his revised conference. Oh, man. Dear God. Alrighty. Time to start my day and go for my run in 15 minutes at least. I could go now, but three homeless people, they were blocking the way yesterday. And the cops just don't care to do their job anymore. You know, he won't take down the church. He knows they're a criminal organization, so he now is complicit. Chief Brown of Salt Lake City Police knows what he needs to do and he's not doing it. So that would be another way so that I can get the transfer going. But nope. Everybody's supporting the church and they're evil. They don't understand that it's going to backfire, the law of Purim.